The ArrayDeque is a dynamic array implementation of the deque interface in Java. It's essentially a resizable array that allows elements to be added or removed from both ends efficiently. This makes it versatile for implementing both stacks or queues. The underlying data structure is an array that automatically grows as needed to accommodate more elements. It offers constant time performance for most operations like adding, removing, and peeking at elements. When it comes to multi-threading, external synchronization is necessary because ArrayDeque is not thread safe. ArrayDeque allows to implement stack functionality with LIFO, as well as queue functionality with FIFO. What do both of these abbreviations mean? Well, let's quickly dive into that. LIFO stands for last in, first out, and is the behavior of a stack. The last element to be added to the stack is the first one to be removed. Think of a stack of plates. The last one you put on is the first one you take off. Alright? Good. FIFO stands for first in, first out, and is the behavior of a queue. The first element to be added to the structure is the first one to be removed. Imagine a queue of people waiting for a ticket. The first person in the line is the first one to get the ticket. Wouldn't it be weird if that was different? Let's take a look at some code with an example of a stack of plates in a picnic basket. It's very similar to one of my earlier videos about the Java stack class. So if you haven't seen it yet, I highly suggest you do. You can find a link in the video description below. But this video is about ArrayDeque, so let's create an example code in Java. To build up our code example, let's start by creating our basket. What we need here is a local variable, plates, which has the type ArrayDeque, taking strings. And right away we create a new instance. To add a plate on the top of the stack, let's create a new method, add top plate, taking a plate as a parameter. Here we access the local plates variable to execute its add first method. Let's also print the text to the terminal with our added plate, as well as the size of the ArrayDeque. Let's also create a method to add a plate at the bottom of the stack, add bottom plate, taking a plate as a parameter, and within this method we access the local variable plates to execute its add last method, which takes a plate. Let's also create a terminal output, outputting the plate and the size of the ArrayDeque. Now let's take a look at how to make use of this in the main method. The first thing we need is an instance of the basket, and then we are ready to add plates. So let's add a top plate, red plate, add another plate, orange plate, and a pink plate. Let's also add a plate at the bottom of the stack, which would be a blue plate, and also a navy plate, and also an azure plate. At this moment though, we can only add plates. What we also need though is a possibility to take plates as well. So let's go back to the basket and add a new method, takeTopPlate, which accesses our local plates variable to execute the poll first method. This method takes and removes the top element and puts it into our plate variable. Now we can check whether the plate is null or not. And if it's not null, we create a terminal output for the plate and for the size of the ArrayDeque. If there is no plate though, we output a different text, try to take top plate, but no plates left. As this method requires to return a string, let's return the plate. Let's also add a method to take a plate from the bottom, take bottom plate. Here we access the local variable plates to execute the poll last method. This method takes the bottom element, puts it into our plate variable, and removes it from the ArrayDeque. Now again we can check whether there is a plate, and if there is a plate, we create a terminal output for the plate and for the size of the ArrayDeque. If there is no plate, we output the text, try to take bottom plate, but no plates left. Last but not least, we return the plate. Now let's take a look at how to make use of that in the main method. Now that we've created these two methods, we can access them. Basket.takeTopPlate, take another top plate, and then let's take two bottom plates. Let's add another white plate at the top, and another white plate at the top, and another white plate at the top. Now let's take the top plate, take another top plate, and take another top plate. What we want to do now is take a look what this actually looks like in a terminal. So let's build and run the application. And here we can see that we first added top plates, a red plate, an orange plate, and a pink plate. And then we added bottom plates, a blue plate, a navy plate, and an azure plate. After that we took top plates, a pink plate and an orange plate. And then we took bottom plates, an azure plate and a navy plate. After that we added 3 white plates to the top, and right after that we took 3 white plates from the top. Okay, now let's take a look at how to list plates. For that, let's go back to the basket and add a new method, listPlates, which first outputs the terminal message list of plates. And then we first check the size of the ArrayDeque to make sure it's more than 0. If it is more than 0, we want to have the highest index so that we can use it as a counter in our output. But first, let's create a for loop where we loop through all of the plates to get one plate at a time. Now let's create an output where we use our decreasing index and our plate. In case there are no plates, we output a text, no plates left. Now let's take a look at how to make use of this in the main method. Basket list plates. Let's add a gray plate to the top, and another gray plate to the top, and another gray plate to the top. Then let's list all the plates. And now let's add a green plate to the bottom, and another green plate to the bottom, and another green plate to the bottom. And now let's list the plates again. Now let's take a plate from the top, take a plate from the bottom, take another plate from the bottom, and list all plates again. To see how this looks like in the terminal, let's build and run the application. And here we can see that we first list 2 plates. Then we add 3 gray plates, and then we list all plates again, where we can see that the 3 gray plates were added to the top. And then we add 3 green plates, followed by listing all plates again, where we can see the green plates at the bottom. Then we can see that we took a gray plate from the top, and that we took 2 green plates from the bottom. And last but not least, we list again, seeing that we have 2 gray plates, a red plate, a blue plate, and a green plate. Now what we have created so far is only the possibility to take plates and remove them from the ArrayDeque in the same process. There's also the possibility to just look at elements without removing them. So let's create a method for that in the basket. Look at top plate, where we first check that the ArrayDeque is not empty. And here we make use of the peek first method, which only looks at elements but does not remove them. Let's output this plate to the terminal and return it. In the case that the ArrayDeque is empty, we output a text, try to look at the top plate, but no plates left. In this case, we return null. Let's do the same thing for the bottom plate, starting with checking if the ArrayDeque is not empty. And if it is not empty, we use the peek last method, which takes a look at the last element without removing it. Let's output it to the terminal and return it. In the case that the ArrayDeque is empty, we output the text, try to look at the bottom plate, but no plates left. In this case also we return null. Now let's take a look at what this looks like in the main method. First we look at the top plate, then we look at the bottom plate. Then we add a black plate to the top and also a black plate to the bottom. Now we look at the top plate and we look a second time at the top plate. Then we look at the bottom plate and also a second time at the bottom plate. Now we take the top plate, we take the bottom plate, and we look at the top plate and also at the bottom plate. To see what this looks like in the terminal, let's build and run the application. Here we see that we look at the top plate, which is the gray plate, and we also look at the bottom plate, which is a green plate. Then we added a black plate to the top and also a black plate to the bottom. And then we looked at the top plate, which is the black plate. And then we looked the second time at the top plate, which is still the black plate. Then we did the same thing at the bottom, which is a black plate. And then we looked at the bottom plate again, which still is a black plate. Then we took the top plate, which is the black plate. And we also took the bottom plate, which is also a black plate. And then we took a look at the top plate, which is a gray plate. And we also took a look at the bottom plate, which is a green plate. Now there's also the possibility to empty the entire basket. So let's take a look at that. So let's add a new method to the basket, empty basket, which makes use of the clear method. And then we also output a text, emptied the basket. Let's take a look at what this looks like in the main method. Basket list plates, basket empty basket, and again basket list plates. Now let's build and run the application. And here we see the first listing of our plates. Then we empty the basket, and then we see the second listing of our plates, where we see that no plates are left. Okay, to sum up, we first made sure that we understood the basics of the ArrayDeque. Then we went over some code examples for adding and removing elements, as well as peeking into front and end elements, and listing all elements using a loop. Last but not least, we deleted all elements. Now, what did you think about this short instruction video? Did you feel you got some value out of it? If yes, liking this video and subscribing to my channel is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.